everyone. So during week 1, you read a chapter from our textbook about the writing process. And if you didn't, please go back and do so now. Lots of helpful information there. Well, that chapter presented a lot of good information. At that point, we were thinking about writing papers a bit more in the abstract. This week, we're actually writing our first major paper. So I want to return to the writing process and break down exactly what writing this paper should look like if you are using the writing process. In my email to the class, I encouraged you to start this week early so that you had the full week to write the paper. But at the very minimum, this paper should take you 5 days to write. If you are starting on Monday, you can spread this paper out over 7 days, which will make the process much easier. But in this video lecture, I'll set up a 5-day schedule for successfully writing this paper. So if you're starting on Wednesday, day 1 means that you need to review the assignment and grading criteria, choose your topic, brainstorm, and outline. This will be a few hours of work, so make sure to plan enough time to get everything done so you can turn in your outline before the end of the day. The first step is to review the assignment and grading criteria. In the week 3 module, you'll find the assignment and the rubric. Spend some time carefully reading both so that you have a clear idea of what is expected of you. In this particular case, you're being asked to analyze one of 3 short editorials. To help you choose your topic, I've used the week 3 reading assignment to ask you to read all 3 and do some analysis. The assignment asks you to organize your paper around a thesis that claims that an editorial is strong or weak based on whether or not it achieves its purpose. That means that you should probably choose one that you feel like you can argue is successful or unsuccessful. The assignment also asks you to support your claim by analyzing things like context, intended audience, credibility, emotional appeal, and logic. Since you want to have enough material to fill 3 to 4 pages, you'll want to choose an article that you think provides you with enough material to analyze. Remember that you're allowed to say that an article is good but not perfect. You can spend most of your paper analyzing what an editorial does well, but include a paragraph or 2 near the end of the essay that says, well, the editorial did many things well, also had a few weaknesses. Consider that as you think about which editorial you want to discuss. Once you've reviewed the assignment and the rubric and chosen your topic, it's time to brainstorm. Brainstorming is a chance to get all of your ideas on paper without worrying about whether or not they're good ideas or if they're organized or if they're phrased well. The main idea is to just get some raw material that you can work with later. The way that I would personally brainstorm this assignment would be to walk through the questions presented in the assignment prompt and jot down as many answers as I possibly could to each. I'd also try to think of as many examples as I possibly could to support each answer. For me, my brainstorming usually just looks like a long list of ideas. Sometimes I circle or underline things I really like. Sometimes I cross things out when I think of better ideas. But the main idea is to just get a bunch of ideas out there. The outlining stage is your chance to decide how to take this messy and organized group of ideas from the brainstorming stage and organize them into a paper. The first step is grouping ideas into logical categories. I might notice that I have a lot of ideas that are about emotion, a lot that are about intended audience, and a lot that are about logical support of the main idea. So I might decide to focus on these 3 topics when writing my paper. I also know from the assignment's prompt that I need to give a quick overview of the editorial's main idea. I know I'll want an introduction and conclusion, so I've just come up with 6 main sections of my paper. On this next slide, you'll see the start of my outline. I have a spot for my introduction, a spot for my summary of the article and its purpose, sections for intended audience, emotional appeal, and logical appeal. Here we go. And a section for my conclusion. The next step is to fill in each section. In my introduction, I want to mention how I'm going to capture my audience's attention. Pretend I'm writing about an editorial that's about how the speed limit on a local road should be lowered. I might open with a personal anecdote about the one time I got on an accident on that road, Or I might share some interesting information about the average speed limits in similar neighborhoods as compared to the one this particular road is in. I also want to share my thesis. At this point, I just need a working thesis that I can polish later, so I'm going to write, "Lower the speed limit" from the Post-Gazette is an effective editorial. Because it understands how to appeal to its intended audience with emotions and facts, it successfully convinces readers to contact their city representatives. Pardon me. So I want to do something similar in each of my body paragraphs. The best way to do this, I find, is to share the ideas I want to bring over from my brainstorming and list them in each category. Then I might start working towards topic sentences by figuring out which big ideas connect all the details. It might be as simple as, down here, the author's incorporation of her own scary stories as well as those of her friends help appeal to emotion. Remember that the conclusion is where you do a quick overview of your essay, but in a way that broadens the topic a little bit. Start thinking about how you want to do this now in order to avoid a simple summary in your conclusion. So after you've outlined your paper, it's time to start writing. We all write at different paces, but I like the idea of spreading writing across at least a couple of days. Say you're writing a 3 to 4 page paper like this one. If you spread it out over 2 to 3 days, you only have to write 1 to 2 pages a day. That will help keep things manageable. Remember that you do not need to write perfectly. You don't even have to write the parts of your paper in order. If you're having trouble with your introduction, go work on one of your body paragraphs. The introduction might be easier if you come back to it later. Finally, you should save 1 to 2 days for proofreading and editing. Because this course is taking place over 12 weeks instead of 18, we're not able to build in the same kind of workshopping and conferences that would be mandatory for all papers. You will turn in a draft to me for one paper, and you will do peer workshopping for another. And even on this paper, you will be able to earn a few points back if you make revisions based on my suggestions. But overall, in an accelerated class, you need to take a little extra initiative. So the first step in editing is to read your paper over as if you were grading it yourself. I try to get into the mindset of my professor. I'll even take out a pen and pretend that I'm the professor grading this paper. I use the rubric and I try to decide where I fall in each category. Then I go back to being me, the writer, and I see how many issues I can resolve on my own. The next step is for a friend or family member. Find them and see if they might be willing to look over your paper. Show them the rubric and ask them to be the professor. Assure them that you want all the criticism they can give, knowing it's up to you to decide whether or not their advice is worth following. Remember that revision isn't just about changing a few words or fixing grammatical mistakes. A good revision is willing to rewrite entire sentences, change a thesis statement, and move paragraphs around. I've had revisions that have required me to delete and rewrite entire paragraphs. It's tough to do, but making these sacrifices now can help you turn in a project that you feel better about. Also, please know that few writers ever turn in a paper that they feel is perfect. I've published things I look back on 1 or 2 years later and wish that I could change. I've turned in papers to professors and had them ask me to make some major changes. But at some point, I know that it's better to turn in an imperfect piece of work than not turn anything in at all. Writing at the end of the day is about communication and about connecting with people. And it's better to connect to people somewhat imperfectly than to not connect with them ever at all. Thanks, everyone. Bye.